Alright, what is going on, my dudes? So we're back here today with another Karate Mike patented colorful spreadsheet, alright? So this one is going to be on Awakening Gems, and specifically 6-star Awakening Gems. Now, if you follow my account at all, like in any of my videos or whatnot, you'll know that I'm very stingy with my Awakening Gems. There's been many times where I've had a gem and a champ I want to awaken, and I'll hold on to it until I get them awakened naturally. It's happened multiple times, either naturally or through the arena or any other possible way. I guess those are the only two ways, right? But regardless, I am very stingy with my Awakening Gems, and that's because I do believe that 6-star Awakening Gems are still one of the most precious resources in the entire game, especially generic gems. Generic gems have only ever been offered for 100% Abyss and through special offers on holidays like we're about to have coming up. So, if I were a betting man, I would bet that we're going to see at least one generic 6-star Awakening Gem this weekend, or whenever I upload this, for Cyber Weekend, okay? I think there might also be a chance that there's a random gem as well. I think there might be a random gem in like the 10k unit offer, and then a generic gem and an additional 3k. So I feel like, you know, I have a lot of thoughts as to what champions are worthy of a 6-star Awakening Gem right now in the current state of the game. Who's going to benefit the most, and I feel like I should put all those, you know, thoughts down in a little nice colorful spreadsheet and put it into video form and upload it for you fine people to watch, you know, ahead of the deals, so that you could possibly be prepared and get some other opinions and thoughts as to who might best, you know, be worthy of that gem that you're about to pick up. So without further ado, let's start jumping right in. For the skill class, the only champion I think I would put a generic gem into is going to be Nicholas Fury. Nick Fury, an amazing champion for a gem. Obviously, this seems self-explanatory. If they're worthy of generic, they're also worthy of a class gem. Now, keep in mind, I do want to point out before we go any further, if you're planning to take a champion up to rank 4 and they are unawakened, I do think that that champion will be worthy of a generic gem to get them awakened, to have your first rank 4 be an awakened champion, okay? So keep that in mind. This is just but my opinion on who I would personally give gems to. When it comes to the skill class, now, when it comes to the rest of the skill class in general, there are quite a few champions who I can see myself potentially giving a gem to. Shang-Chi is a champion who's absolutely worthy of a gem. He only needs to be Sig 1, absolutely fantastic champion. I think that's self-explanatory. Then we have Ragnagod, right? I know the meme is, hey Mike, does Ragnagod need to be awakened, right? At the end of the day, he doesn't for his, you know, stun lock BS, right? However, at the end of the day, he is a prestige play, because he's a top 3 prestige champion, and he can definitely benefit your prestige, and he has amazing prestige, and he benefits quite a bit from his Sig ability. Up next, we have Mole Man. Keep in mind that Mole Man is the first champion that we have that benefits from high Sig. I feel like a lot of people don't know this, but Mole Man at high Sig gets a lot of damage increase the lower his health gets while he's unstoppable. He could toss out very high damage output once he gets lower in health at a very high Sig. So I do think that Mole Man is worth the gem, and if you're willing to commit to Mole Man, if you want to take him to rank 4 in the future, like me, my Mole Man is currently Sig 120. He will be Sig 200 when he gets to rank 4. He's definitely a great champion for both Sigs and for a gem. Up next, we have Kingpin, a champion who only really needs to be Sig 1 in my opinion. The Sig 1 makes a huge difference for this guy, and he's definitely worthy. Top skill champion. Then we have Aegon. Aegon's good. I feel like I should have put Aegon in debatable, because unless you're planning to do Abyss with Aegon, I wouldn't really awaken a rank, you know, a 6-star Aegon. I know a lot of people like Aegon for, like, you know, story content and other stuff like that. I'm personally not a fan of Aegon in that kind of content, but if you are, he could be a good champ for it. And up next, in debatable, we have Crossbones and Black Panther. The reason why these are both here is that they're both very playable, unawakened, okay? They do get some nice utility just at, you know, awakened at their base. OG Black Panther can shrug the Suicide Masteries right away if you play with the Suicides, and Crossbones at a very high Sig has a 90% chance to shrug debuffs whenever he were to gain one. At Sig 20, I believe it's 50%, and it's decently reliable, so isn't debatable because he does kind of need to be at a high Sig to really get that reliability, and everything that he can do, defensive ability actually reduction and damage, is going to be present on awakened. So unless you can commit to a high Sig, I don't think a Sig 1 Crossbones is going to do anything too crazy for you that an unawakened Crossbones won't. Okay, so now we come to the Science class. Science 1 is an interesting class. Up first, we have Captain Infinity War and Thing. I do think that both these champions are both still worthy of generics. However, I do think that they should both be at Sig 200, and I would not put any gem, either class or generic, into these champions unless you're going to commit to taking them to Sig 200. Up next in the class of the Science, we have Immortal A-Bomb, Spider-Man 2099, and also Anti-Venom. All three of these champions are going to benefit quite a bit from the Awakening, but also keep in mind that all three champs are also more than fine unawakened. You will see a nice significant difference in all of these champions once they are awakened. Immortal A-Bomb for speed, Spidey for damage, Anti-Venom also for debuff potency. Spidey benefits quite a bit from a high Sig. His damage increase goes through the roof at near Sig 200. He gets an 80% chance at Sig 200 to increase to not consume the rupture debuffs on the opponent when they burst while crossing a bar of power, which is very, very powerful and increase your damage quite a bit. I would have put a gem into my Spidey if I didn't get him awakened naturally. That's how much I do value the awaken ability, but you know, I'm planning to take him to Sig 200. He got awakened naturally. Then for debatable down here, we have Human Torch and Piggy. Human Torch's Sig ability, it comes into play every once in a blue moon, man. In the Abyss, it's very useful because of the really long form content and the multiple times you go into each fight. So that's going to be useful there. But outside of that, you're not going to be using Human Torch's ability all that often. So it could be a decent champion to awaken, but at the end of the day, more often than not, unless you're using him in Abyss, you're not going to be using it. But Human Torch is kind of the best science champion in the game, aside from of course, who doesn't really count because she's not a 6-star. So I could see some merit in Awakening Torch. And then we have Piggy. I feel like Piggy is more than fine on Awaken, but there are just so many Piggy fans out there that I do feel like he does need to be on the list. And also, I do see a nice significant difference in him when he is awakened. I have mine at Sig 1. I got him awakened through the basic arena, and I definitely did notice a decent increase from that Awaken ability. He does gain some nice abilities from it. Up next, for generic, the only Mystic champion I would generic, actually no, there's two, sorry, Dr. Doom and Diablo. Dr. Doom, I would definitely generic. I gave mine a Mystic gem, but I would give him a generic. His prestige is just absolutely through the roof that it is essentially generic worthy, also because of how great of a champion he is. Best Mystic champion in the game, amazing power control. What his Sig ability gives him is that it gives him at Sig 200 a 100% chance to convert any buff that is nullified into a shock, which is really great for Doom's abilities, of course. And also, any power, what is it? Any power buff? What is it even called, man? Power gain buff? Is that what they're called? I don't know if I've ever said that out loud. Any power gain buff that you nullify or stagger, well, that is going to be stolen and put onto Dr. Doom, which is very, very good. Now for Diablo, Diablo is a newer champion, right? He's buffed over the summer. He's going to be very, 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 you're going to notice a very big increase in his ability once he is awakened. He's going to get a nice damage increase and also a nice damage reduction. That is if you have a poison on yourself and a poison on the opponent. So Diablo is definitely debatable whether he's worth a generic or not, but Diablo has gotten a lot of love recently, and I do think that Diablo could benefit from a generic gem if you're very committed to him, if you run the Suicide Masteries. I feel like Dr. Doom and Diablo are both like top of the Mystic class right now, depending on your mastery setup. So yeah, Diablo also does benefit a bit from high Sig, but I feel like not enough that he needs that. I feel like he's fine at around Sig 20. But yeah, Diablo is a very great champion. And if you run the Suicide Masteries and you're potentially looking to even take Diablo to rank 4 in the future, he could be a great champion for it. Up next, we have Tigra, Voodoo, and Morningstar. Tigra definitely deserves that. So Tigra starts the fight with her senses when she's awakened, so that's kind of a no-brainer if you're a Tigra fan, right? Unfortunately, at Sig 20, it doesn't do much for you. At Sig 1, it does nothing for you. At Sig about 100, that's when it starts to really kick into play. So if you can get your Tigra up, you know, her Sig up a little bit, that awakening is going to do a lot for you. If not, use the Kitty Pryde synergy. It's going to help you out a bunch too. Then you have Voodoo. Most people don't have Voodoo, but obviously Voodoo's an older champion. You know why Voodoo needs the dupe. He's very good with it. Great champion, right? He hasn't even been in the featured pool yet. He's only been in the arena and Cavs. Then Morningstar, she starts with a soul, very good. She's a ramp-up champion and makes her ramp 1 fight less. Self-explanatory if you're a Morningstar fan. Then for debatable down here, we have Mojo. I put Mojo in debatable. I really like Mojo quite a bit, so I do think that he could be worthy of a gem. I would consider giving my Mojo one. The only thing is he does benefit quite a bit from a high Sig, and he isn't the most universally useful, like kind of like some of these other champions are. So Mojo is a really fun champion. However, the Sig investment to get that Fury all the way up is quite a bit. So that's why it is debatable. But if you have the rest of like your Mystic roster kind of awakened already, well then Mojo could be a decent option for you. Cosmic over here, we have Hercules and Corvus. Hercules, obviously, by and large, possibly the best option for a generic on the entire list, in my opinion. He's a top 5 prestige champion, right? He does benefit from a decent sig level at least, because the higher your sig, the longer the immortality is going to last. But even at sig 1, you have that immortality safety net, and also very important, very overlooked, I feel like, the combat power rate while you're hitting, while your feats of strength are active, is going to be present the entire time while you're awakened. That's going to be very useful. Corvus, self-explanatory, sig 1, immortal, good to go. All right, now for the rest of the Cosmic class here, we have Null, a newer champion, right? Null doesn't really need to be awakened, but he does gain quite a nice benefit from him as well, lets you ramp up a lot faster. He does have quite a nice benefit at high sig as well. So I could definitely see a lot of merit going into putting Null, a Cosmic gem into him. I could see some potential arguments for generic, but I don't think I would generic Null. And then we have Silver Surfer. The only reason why Silver Surfer is on this list is because of the prestige play. He's the top prestige in the entire game. I don't know, man. There's also arguments for Silver Surfer generic, but I would not give him a generic. But if your prestige is so bad, if it's super duper bad, if you're like bottom of your alliance and you don't want to get kicked and you want to just keep up your prestige to help everybody else out, then it could be a decent option for you. But in general, unless you're suffering from prestige, do not give a generic to Silver Surfer. Captain Marvel movie, of course, right? Doesn't need to be too high sig. She gets that indestructible no matter what sig she is. Around sig 80 is a great spot for her, of course. Hyperion around sig 20. If you can get him duped naturally, that's amazing. Of course, just like Voodoo, he's a very rare champion at the moment, but Hyperion does not need to be high sig, benefits quite a bit from the awakening. Medusa, sig 1 and done, you're good to go. You get those Furies, and she's absolutely a great champ to put a gem into. And Cosmic Ghost Rider gains a nice bit of utility as well. He gets the Fate Seal, some really good buff control, definitely worthy of a Cosmic gem. And for debatable down here, we have Angela. The reason why Angela isn't debatable is because unless you pair her with Odin, she does really like to be high sig. If you do pair her with Odin, then she doesn't, but she gains a nice bit of utility. I don't know if I would really give her a gem per se, that's why I put her in debatable, but she's definitely useful, there's no doubt about it. When it comes to tech is, of course, usually a weaker class, right? Ghost, I would give a generic to. She does benefit from high sig quite a bit. No brainer. We know why Ghost deserves it. For the rest of the tech class, we have Warlock, who definitely doesn't need it, but I do see quite a benefit in Warlock personally. I value his sig ability quite highly. Guardian kind of wants to be sig 200, but he does, of course, really benefit quite a bit, especially if you're on the Suicide Masteries, energy resistance. Nimrod is a newer champion, but he definitely benefits quite a bit from being awakened. Nimrod, I do think, is probably flying under the radar quite a bit right now. But I feel like in the future, we're going to be seeing Nimrod, his place in the meta of the game definitely increase as time goes on. And against mutant champions, he does benefit quite a bit from his awakening gem. So I do think that a tech gem could be into Nimrod. That could be a good decision. For Penny Parker, same thing. She gets a nice utility, the heal block when they crossbar power. That's definitely a really good thing to have in different situations. She does not need it, so I wouldn't give a generic to any of these champions. However, I do think that a class gem could be good, only because the only other, tech champ at the moment that I would really put higher than them is Ghost. So when it comes to tech gems, you could sit around and wait for a better tech champion to come into the game that's going to be worthy of a gem, or you can use them on a decent option like these champions who don't necessarily need it to be really good, but benefit quite highly. Up next, we have Stark Spidey in debatable, because why not, man? If you happen to have a Stark Spidey and you're a big fan of Stark Spidey, a lot of people love the nostalgia with the guy. I could definitely see some, merit in taking him, putting a gem into him and awakening him that way. He doesn't need to be super high sig. Sig 20 is fine for this guy. Even sig 1 is decent. He benefits quite a bit, but he definitely does not need it. Now, when it comes to the mutant class, gotta move ourselves over a little bit here. I have three champions here who can benefit from a generic. That's Omega Red, Archangel, and Kitty Pryde. Omega Red does need to be sig 200, and preferably with the Suicide Masteries. If you're looking to invest in Omega Red, then you already know this. However, I do think that he is the top option personally in the mutant class for an awakening gem. I put one into mine, never looked back, right? Archangel as well, absolutely incredible champion, top 2 mutant champ in my opinion. Kitty Pryde, a newer champion, but benefits quite a bit, and I do think she is generic worthy. Up next in the mutant class, we do have Namor, who is a prestige play, right? And also, no doubt about it, definitely worthy of a gem. Benefits from high sig. He really needs to be sig 200, but he's also a top 5 prestige champion as well. We have Magneto and Colossus. Colossus, he doesn't necessarily need it, but his damage goes up quite a bit with the Awakening. So I would definitely say if you're a Colossus fan, he's definitely worth it. And he does benefit from high sig as well. He doesn't need it. He really doesn't need it, but he does benefit. Magneto as well definitely does not need the Awakening, but he benefits in a bunch of different ways, especially at high sig. He has, you know, the damage reduction as well as the additional burst damage on the heavy. And then Professor X as well does not need it, but his prowess, you know, the damage is increased as you get higher in sig, so it's definitely a worthy gem in my opinion. Then for debatable down here, we have Sunspot, only at rank 3, okay? At rank 4, Sunspot's prestige falls off quite a bit, okay? It goes from like top 3 at rank 3 to like top 30 at rank 4. So investing in Sunspot for prestige right now while the game is slowly moving to rank 4s, I don't know if it's the smartest decision. However, like I said, with Silver Surfer, I'll have my face so you can take a screenshot if you want. Like I said, with Silver Surfer, if you are hurting for prestige, Sunspot at rank 3 right now could be a decent use of Sig Stones and an Awakening gem. It wouldn't be my first choice right now, especially with the current state of the game, but he's definitely debatable, and his prestige at rank 3 is going to carry weight for quite a bit until you have 5 rank 4s, so I do think it is definitely at least debatable. But yeah, this is overall my list of who I would give either a generic gem to or a class gem. And keep in mind, like I said, I'm very stingy with my gems. I have an unawakened rank 3 Shang-Chi and a skill gem just collecting dust at the moment, but I haven't used it. I feel like, you know, skilled Awakening gems, 6-star gems are very valuable at the moment, so you definitely want to hold on to them until it's the right time to use it. That's just my opinion at least, right? But yeah, maybe you have a different philosophy, maybe you want to use it right away before the value goes down, that's also fine. But just personally, these are champions who I would give gems to, whether they be class or generic, and I wanted to get that out before Cyber Weekend. So anyway, my dudes, that's it for this one. If you enjoyed it, drop your boy a big ol' like, comment what you think about this list in the comment section below. Do you agree with it? Do you disagree? Let me know, and hit the subscribe button so you don't miss any other future lists coming to you before Cyber Weekend. I'll be seeing you around.